This podcast contains explicit language and is for mature audiences only. If you're under 18, this show is intended more for your parents.
So, take that mental image with you and get back to doing your homework. We are a couple choosing to share our personal experiences and opinions that should in no way be misconstrued as professional advice. Welcome to episode number 2 of the We Got a Thing podcast. It's a Wednesday evening. It's actually Thanksgiving Eve, and we are sitting here enjoying the calm before the storm.
Yeah, so we are going to, before we are invaded by family and vanilla friends for the next few days, talk about some sexy things while it's just the two of us. So we're going to start out by talking about what's going on, and what this segment's called Keeping Up with the Joneses. And we've got actually a lot going on lately, more than we had planned for at least, which is a good thing. So the first thing that we did, I guess this was probably, the house party was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so we had met a couple and spent some time with them alone, and then they put together a house party with us and 2 other couples.
Well, it was supposed to be a total of 6 couples, and one thing that we've heard about the lifestyle is that a lot of times you end up getting stood up at the last minute. So it was supposed to be 6 couples, and then the morning of the dinner party, I guess one of the 6 couples had to send their regrets, and then that night the dinner party started at about 7ish, and at about 8 a couple started texting and saying we're running late, and then by 9 they said start without us, and then by the time we ate dinner at about 10, we realized that they weren't going to be bringing dessert.
Right. But it still was a fun evening.
It was a great evening.
6 of us, and the couple that put this together really did a fantastic job of finding a place. It wasn't even their house. They found some of their friends were out of town, and it was right in the middle of the city, and it was a beautiful evening. And we started off with some cocktails and some wine, and got to know everyone else, and talked for a long time, and then we had dinner together at their house, and then they had set up the upstairs. I think there was there 3 or 4 levels in this
this
place.
Was a brownstone in the middle of a city.
Right.
So it had 4 floors to it, and you just kept going up, and there'd be another little alcove or another little bedroom, and they had everything set up, and all ready to go for any kind of play that might have had happened that night.
And did happen
that night.
So we ended up playing with the other couple that invited us, and then there were 2 other couples that I'm not sure if they interacted with each other, but they were definitely naked and in the room. And
I don't think they did. I think we were the most experienced couple there, and I think that the other 2 couples were just kind of wanting to be in a sexy environment and figure out, their comfort level with one another, and just being around other people. So, it was a very low pressure, low key atmosphere, which it's kind of my speed for the most part. And it was just, a really fun time. And, we did get to play with the other couple that we had played with before. And we did it, in front of the other 2 couples for a while. And then everybody kind of started separating and going on their own ways to find more comfortable places to be together. So we kind of had a little bit of exhibitionism going on, and then just some really fun, soft play with this other couple.
Yeah, it was really a nice time. And then, unfortunately, though, I think one of the drawbacks was we had to drive. We had to come an hour and 15 or 20 minutes so home after all of that stuff happened. So I guess that was the only downside of it, was having to get dressed and go back out and drive all the way home. But overall, it was a great evening, and we thought that was going to be our only opportunity to play before our trip to Desire, which we're going to talk about in the next segment. But then what happened was we were contacted or somehow we connected with a couple on Cassidy, and they are about an hour and a half from the house. and they reached out to us to introduce themselves and asked if we'd like to get together sometime. And so coincidentally...
Well, thanks to United Airlines, we were almost forced into going up to the airport a night early and spending the night, because we thought we had an 8:30 a.m. flight booked to Cancun, and about 3 weeks before we left, United Airlines sent us an email saying, "Oh, by the way, we same flight number, but we changed your flight to 6:05 a.m. instead of 8:25 a.m." And we were like, "What?" But then the more we thought about it, we were like, "Sweet, we're going to be in Cancun by mid-morning." So we decided to go up to the airport and get a hotel room, and then a lot of the airports around where we live do the whole park and fly deal. So we were going to leave our car and take the shuttle over. So we were just going to go up and have dinner, just the two of us that night. But this couple had contacted us, and they only live about a half an hour from the airport. It was really convenient.
Right. So we just threw it out there. We said, hey, just in case you're free Friday night, we're going to be staying about a half an hour from where you live, overnight at the airport. And then, wouldn't you know, they took us up on the offer, and we met them for dinner. And we, even though we just celebrated our first anniversary in the lifestyle, I would still say that we're relatively new to a lot of this experience. And
now we know just enough to get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. So we met a lovely couple. Really hit it off with them. And the short story is we had a great time. The evening worked out beautifully, and we're going to see them again here coming up soon. But we were kind of caught off guard a bit. We had a good meal together, and we really never. It was a very low pressure meeting, no expectations. Kind of we don't play on the first date. I mean, we didn't really say that, but it was a low expectations evening, and we hit it off. And this couple are even again newer than we are at this, right? And so we didn't expect what came out of her mouth as we were finishing up dinner. And what exactly did she say? I think she said...
Well, she said, her husband and she were, I guess, kind of nudging each other under the table, kind of, communicating through body language, since all four of us were, staring at each other. So I guess they figured it was a green light. So she said, I know we didn't really plan on this, but we feel really comfortable with you guys, and we really feel like there's a connection with you. So would you consider having us come back to your hotel room with you?
And I think the way that she asked it was pretty cool. She said, "We know you have to get up at 3:30 in the morning for a flight, so maybe it would be easier just to stay up all night and not have to wake up in the morning."
Which is practically what happened.
Right. So it really, I think we learned a little bit there, because I didn't expect that. And then when she asked the question, we kind of glanced at each other and made quick eye contact, and decided on the fly that I think we were both okay with it, and we wanted to do it. So we offered to go back to the hotel. And our hotel was about 10 minutes away. And so I knew that we were going to have an opportunity to get in the car and talk about it again. So they followed us back to the hotel. We met in the hotel lobby for drinks. And during that 10 minutes, we kind of regrouped in the car and said, "Did you expect that?"
No.
I didn't expect that. But are you okay with this? Because I kind of felt like, I put you on the spot with that decision. I wanted to make sure that you were on the same page. And again, they handled it very well. Even when we got back to the hotel lobby, as soon as they got out of the car, they said, "Okay, now that you've had time to talk about this, since we put you on the spot, are you sure you're okay with it?" And
well, luckily we were staying in a pretty big hotel, and it had a really nice lobby with a nice bar, and we stayed in the lobby, and the four of us had a drink first. So it wasn't like there was pressure to just go upstairs and start flinging clothes everywhere.
Right. Yeah. So then we ended up having another drink in the lobby, and they went back, and we talked. We had a really good conversation with them about what their limits were, and what their rules were, and what they were into, and us being soft swap, it was a good fit. And I think the only thing that she had hesitated about was, I think, kissing. Didn't she say?
She was very unsure about kissing, because just like I've heard many couples feel this way, kissing is a very intimate act. and she was, just concerned about her reaction to kissing somebody else or having somebody kiss her or watching her husband kiss somebody else. So we were like, okay, that's not a problem for us, but we can certainly respect that, and it wasn't a deal breaker by any means.
Right. And when we got back up to the hotel room, there's that initial who's going to get things started thing. And so when we went into the room, I turned the heat up because it just to make it a little bit warmer in there. And
He's a really good husband.
Well, and I didn't want any excuses for clothes not coming off. So after about 10 minutes of small talk again, I think I suggested that it was probably warm enough in the room for the ladies to...
He basically just told me to take my sweater off.
Yeah, and you were very good about jumping right on that. And then, of course, she followed suit, and the rest was history. But and I believe you two started together. The two ladies started together.
Yes, we did.
And
she had very limited experience with ladies, so...
Yeah. So what, did she go down on you first, or you...
Yes.
Yeah, she did. And it looked like she did a very good job.
She was a natural.
Yeah. And then you went down on her, and that was really... I'll never get over that. I could watch that all the time, but you two looked really comfortable together, and she enjoyed you as much as...
Well, you and her husband were doing a good job at putting her at ease and making her feel comfortable while I was taking care of her.
Yes, right. So then we swapped back to each other's partners and finished, and laid around and talked for a while, and I think she expressed something at the end where she had said that it really went well, and maybe she had made more out of it in her mind than it really turned out to be as far as the kissing thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, it must have gone well, because we're going to see them again this coming weekend.
Yeah, in a couple days.
And we'll get to talk about it directly with them, and so we're really looking forward to that. So that pretty much...
That was a hell of a way to start a vacation.
Yeah, I mean, that was a bonus. So before we even got on the plane...
I never knew I'd been around an airport so much before.
Yeah. So before we even got on the plane to Mexico, we had a play experience under our belt, and we said, wow, this is really going to be a good vacation. It's off to a good start. At least that's what we were hoping anyway, and it turned out to be the case.
Yes,
so...
It was definitely a foreshadowing of things to come for the rest of the week.
So I believe you're up to date on what the Joneses have been up to. Move into segment 2, what we're going to talk about tonight is
our trip to Desire Pearl. And the topic of this second episode is called, Okay, We Are Officially Sluts, because we were busy at Desire Pearl.
In a good way.
In a very good way. And it was, so we've been to Pearl, or to Desire, 3 times now. We were there exactly a year ago. So that was, it was an amazing week as well. We kind of alluded to that in the first episode. We met a couple there, and we pretty much hung out with that couple most of the week, and it was great. I mean, we hit it off with them. We played with them. They were the first couple we ever played with, and it was a very positive experience where we felt comfortable. So then we went back in August thinking, okay, well, what's going to happen this time? And when we went in August, we were completely focused on each other. We met tons of great people and just enjoyed having dinner with people and talking to people around the pool and in the hot tub in the evenings and at the disco. But we, for whatever reason, didn't sexually connect with anybody. We were completely... engrossed in ourselves and our own relationship, so we just kind of rolled with it and enjoyed the sensual atmosphere that only Desire can provide.
Right, but it wasn't boring at all. As a matter of fact, we never had sex in our bedroom. I think the whole week, maybe twice a day. And went balcony, jacuzzi, pool beds, playroom. So even though it was the two of us, we still made an adventure out of it, I think. So.
Yep.
I wasn't disappointed at all.
I wasn't either. So this time when we went, we were like, okay, well, now what's going to happen? We had the kind of hanging out with one couple experience. We had the just focus on each other experience. So, we didn't really know what to expect. And we're hoping, we're kind of, we've kind of accelerated a little bit in our lifestyle experiences over the past couple months. So we're feeling a lot more confident in our ability to kind of read each other and to kind of anticipate what we're looking for in our encounters with other people. So I think that kind of gave us the confidence to meet more people and just have conversations, and then learning how to read, well, is this going to head anywhere, or are these just people we want to hang out with? And we enjoyed meeting both types of people. I mean, when we go there, it's not just about the sex. I think we just enjoy hanging out with people and talking to them and hearing their life experiences and what got them into lifestyle, and and all of their adventures as well. So
right, and a lot of people, when a lot of podcasters, as a matter of fact, I think there was a podcast group there at RM the week before we showed up at Pearl. And a lot of what we learned from Desire was listening to other podcasts and getting reviews. So we're not going to really focus on the facility itself, but like you were saying, Mrs. Jones, what we love to do is to connect with people, and Desire is the place to do that. It's such a warm, friendly, safe, sensual environment, and it's full of people who are open-minded, non-judgmental, from all parts of many different countries, parts of the world. And when you add all of that together and subtract clothing, it just creates this indescribable environment. And so I know that a lot of people, including us, are anxious before you go there for the first time, because we're wondering, how am I going to feel comfortable when I take my clothes off, or am I going to be able to do this? But once you get there, it can truly be a transformational place. And how many people did we talk to, or have we talked to, that said, when we say, how did you get into the lifestyle, they say, well, it started with a trip to Desire.
I know.
And even though we had been there before, every time we go, this is our third time, we seem to take another step kind of forward in our relationship and how we meet people. So I don't even know how many people we met there, but being there for 8 days, right now it seems like a blur, but we had...
what the coolest thing was is we were there this week last year, and we probably, and I'm not exaggerating, I know there were at least 10 couples there this week that were there the same week last year. So not only do you walk in the door and the staff remembers you, they might not remember your name, but like, Victor at the pool, he remembered where we like to sit every day, and they just remember. And Ebe, she's just, remembers you and knows that you like a glass of water between every drink, so you don't end up getting wasted and, drowning in the hot tub or whatever.
Right.
So then put guests on top of that you recognize from last year. And again, you might not remember everybody's name, but you remember conversations that you had with them, or just other funny experiences that happened a year ago. And it was just so cool. It was truly like coming home.
Right. And I think I don't know how many people we exchange contact information with, but that's an indicator to me. I mean, so many people, people that have been there for the first time, people that have been there many times, people that we've seen before, and new people, just so many couples that we connected with, and really, then you add, of course, the couples that we played with on top of that, and wow, what a trip. And we connected with people, over dinner, and I certainly, we're going to talk a little bit about more specifically, but even playing volleyball and playing water polo and
sexy darts.
And sexy darts. So yeah, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Jones is wearing the T-shirt that we really didn't win. But
we came in third because Mr. Jones couldn't hit the G spot on the dartboard.
It hit the wire on the G spot. And the G spot is the very center of the bullseye, and the G spot is worth 100 points. And the last dart that I threw, it hit the wire. I'm telling you, it hit the wire on the G spot and bounced out. And if we would have gotten that, and I usually don't have I don't have difficult of a
He
problem.
always hits the G spot.
Thank you. Thank you. You knew I was going with that. But anyway, we were pretty sly. Actually, the other couple...
So we were friends with one of the other couples that was playing, and the husband didn't want the T-shirt. So shout out to our Dallas friends for giving me one of the T-shirts because he didn't want it. So each one of the girls, it was kind of win-win.
Yeah.
So yeah, they took the grand prize, and I got the T-shirt.
So do you want to talk about that? I mean, distracted darts.
Distracted
Distracted
darts.
darts. So they put you in precarious positions. Like, for example, when I was throwing one time, Charlie put mats down on the cement, and you got on your knees in front of me, and it was your job to distract me.
Yes.
While I was throwing the darts, and then we switched positions.
So when I was on my knees, what was eye level? I mean, I just kind of, whatever.
Right. So they would put you in these very fun and sexual positions, and you'd try to throw darts and keep score. And I don't know how many rounds we played, and there were about 6 or 7 couples doing it. But so anyway, we played that game, and you got your T-shirt, and I think I'm going to try to snap a photo of at least a portion of you in that
It's
shirt.
the Desire Pearl Porn Star T-shirt.
Yes, and it looks very good on you tonight. So there was that, and we played volleyball. I played volleyball, which may have been a mistake because I'm pretty sore now, and water polo. And one of the couples that we met, she played volleyball with me. And
she's a little bit competitive.
A little bit. And I've got the marks to show for it, though I wasn't complaining because in water polo, she literally was draping herself over me to try to keep me from getting down to the other side. There was
some serious foreplay going on in that game.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I don't even remember if we won or not. It was so even when you're playing the games, there's a lot of sexual contact.
So the only rule during water polo was that the guys were not allowed to touch the girls.
Oh, right.
They had to be very respectful of the women, but of course the women had no rules at all.
Right. And our Austin, Texas friends, at least she was a big cheater. Well, she didn't cheat. She played by the rules, but the rules weren't fair. But I didn't complain.
And you had nothing to complain about.
I didn't complain.
At one point, one of the entertainment staff, she looked over at the Austin lady and she said, "Is that your husband?" And I was on the other side of the pool, and I said, "No, that's my husband." So we had a lot of good times. Okay, enough about all the games. Let's get down to the fun conversation about the sexual times that we had with people down there. So the first couple that we played with, we met in a hot tub. And we were trying to escape another couple that we had met down there last year, an older couple. Right, this couple saved us.
Yeah, they saved us. And the couple that we were talking to, they're really nice, but you know that there's couples that just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. And so I think there
were a few Bloody Marys under her belt.
Yeah. Every time
she was feeling no pain by that time in the afternoon.
Every time he went to the bar, he came back with 2 of something for her.
Yeah, he was a good husband because it looked like a 2-fisted drinker, but they were both for her.
I don't know how it paid off for him later, but they had been drinking, and so we were trying to inch our way strategically away from them in the hot tub.
And there was nobody else in that corner of the hot tub at that point in time. So
right.
It wasn't like you could just kind of like turn and engage somebody else in your conversation so that you could like disengage from this couple. We were stuck.
Right, and so I looked up, and there was this other couple sitting on the edge of the hot tub, and she and I made eye contact, and I said hi, and she said hi back, and as soon as she gave me that we moved in for the
flailing across the hot tub towards her.
I said, we're going to go talk to them, and that was 6, and then the other couple.
And thank goodness they were cute too. So
yeah, it worked out. So I wish I could say that it was strategic that we went after them. But
it was just fate.
They just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or maybe the right place at the right time, hopefully. So anyway, we started talking with them and hit it off well. They were just a great couple, very intelligent, very fun to talk to, just a fun couple.
They were so funny because we would like ask the wife a question and the husband would say, "Don't ask that question unless you got a few minutes," because she was a talker. And she loved to tell stories, and it was so funny just watching them together. They were just so cute
but
together.
She said the same thing. She said, "Don't ask him a question you don't want a direct answer to."
Well, that's true. Yeah, he was very straightforward.
So we went to
in
dinner.
a good way.
Yeah, we went to dinner with them that night and had a really good time with them. I think it was not that night. I think it was maybe the night or two after that.
No, we were kind of sticking to our no play on the first date rule with that.
Yeah, and she wasn't feeling well the one night, so I think
that was the second night. Yeah.
Yeah, so we ended up with them, and we were trying to decide where to go. We had already pretty much decided that we were going to play, and then we did. The playroom at Pearl is okay, but it's kind of small. We didn't want to go back into the disco area. And we didn't want to go inside to a bedroom, and so Mrs. Jones has a favorite spot. Well, I know you have several favorite spots, but
at Pearl I have a favorite venue. Let's say.
Okay, venue.
So at Pearl, there's like the pool's really kind of long, and there's like the really crazy active end of the pool, and then there's what they call the quiet end of the pool, and there's pool beds behind, like the cabana beds on the quiet side of the pool, and there's one particular bed that is just perfectly positioned. It's really close to the pier. If you've ever been to Pearl, they have a really beautiful pier that goes off into the Caribbean, and the pier has lights on it, so at night the lights from the pier shine down onto the Caribbean Sea, and it's quiet. There's no music playing at that end of the pool at night, so you can hear the waves crashing on the shore, and and then there's lights in the pool that change colors all the time. So there's just something beautiful to look at anywhere. And then of course, if you look up and it's a clear night, you see all the stars, and it's just magical. Yeah. So we went there to play with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the ladies are saying things like magical and all that romance stuff, but the guys, when we got to the bed, it had the sheer curtains that were gathered and tied around the post, and we quickly untied that and got inside and claimed it as our sex fort.
Yeah, so the guys called it the sex fort, and we were like, "Oh, it's so magical! The Caribbean Sea's right
so
here."
It worked for all four of us. Yeah, it must have worked because we had a good time.
Nobody was complaining about what went on in that sex fort.
Had a really good time with them, and did some soft swap and did some oral and switched partners and laid around and laughed and maybe went to the bar again and came back and just had...
I think there were 2 a.m. tacos involved at one point. We hung out with them a few different nights.
Right. Yeah, we don't...
I know there were tacos one night.
No, I think you're right. But since we don't smoke cigarettes afterwards, we went to get some fresh tacos afterwards, and they definitely hit the spot. So that was a great evening. We really enjoyed that, really comfortable. And so that was episode number 1.
That was.
Right.
That was. So then the next evening, we decided to just maybe kind of reconnect with each other. We had talked to a bunch of people that day, but, didn't really have any set plans for dinner. So we decided we'd kind of hang out, the two of us, and we went up to Pearl, which is the more formal restaurant, for dinner, and we're just going to get a table for 2. And we ran into some friends up there. One of the couples we had met the year before, and then the other couple we had met, there was a rainy day that we had in the middle of the week, and during that rainy day, everybody's kind of hanging out in the lobby and at the bar, and they had just... I think they had just arrived, and we ended up talking with them, and they were just a great couple.
Right.
So those 2 couples were having dinner together that night, and we just happened to walk up while they were waiting for their table, so we joined them.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you what, you know how when you go to a really nice restaurant and you're trying to have like a really quiet, romantic evening for just the 2 of you and just have some nice, quiet conversation, and there's that one table of obnoxious people that just laugh, and the ladies are cackling, and it's just annoying because you're not part of it and you're trying to have a quiet, romantic evening. Well, that night, we were that table.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody listening that we annoyed that night, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not really, but I am.
We laughed so much. We had such a great time and we, like you said, we weren't expecting to eat with anybody, and I was a little bit reluctant when they invited. We said, well, yeah, we'll eat with you, and then it turned out to be such a great time.
Oh my gosh, they were so funny.
Yeah, so the two couples that we ate with after they chased us out of the dining room, and I think, the wine in Mexico, the house wine there is adequate, I guess. It's not really good. And one of the couples that we had dinner with brought their own bottle of wine from California. So they shared it with us, and so we stayed a little bit late, and they kicked us out of the dining room, and we went back to the disco. And you three ladies, I know specifically, you had your red dress on that your ass
didn't cover much in the front,
no.
And then it creeped up in the back when I was dancing. Yeah.
And then one of the other ladies had a red kind of a fishnet outfit on, and then the other lady had a pink see-through fishnet thing on. And so I stayed on the dance floor a long time that night. And for me, that's what it takes to keep me on the dance floor. Is sexy ladies, dressing with almost nothing on.
Yeah, Mr. Jones is not a big dancer, but he tolerates it for me.
No, all of a sudden I was all in.
Yeah, you were.
For dancing, because again, everything at Pearl is sexual, so even dancing is sexual. And we danced for a while, and then we decided to all go back to the hot tub, and
because we were hot and sweaty.
Yes, so we went directly to the hot tub. We all six got into the hot tub. It was pretty crowded then. Eventually, the second couple
They wandered away. I don't know if they found somebody else.
And so that left four of us. But before we got to the hot tub, we went back to our rooms, and we kind of had a bit of a discussion about, we thought that this couple might be wanting to play with us.
Right? Well, yeah, I could pretty much tell that they wanted to, but there hadn't been any talk, and I'm kind of a slow bloomer or a late bloomer or whatever.
Well, we are.
So yeah.
We are.
So, Mr. Jones said, what do you think? If the conversation comes up, are you willing to play? And I was like, well, I don't think so.
You said no. Right?
Yeah, I pretty much said no. I wasn't positive that I didn't want to play, but I wasn't confident that I did want to play. So that's about where my head was at that point.
Right, and at that point in time, I
hadn't had a lot to drink, so my head was really clear. If I had more to drink, I'd have probably been a little bit more in.
And up until that point, he was being really aggressive on the dance floor, and also we assumed that they were, we thought that they were a whole lot more experienced than us, and so we kind of felt like they were preying on us and so that's why I think...
Not in a bad way.
No.
They were just, without saying anything, they were letting their intentions be known.
Right. And so you said no, and I agreed. And then when we got to the hot tub, though, and it was just the four of us, they sort of invited us back to party with them, I think is the word that they used.
Well, we spent some time in the hot tub, and there was a lot of... cuddling and flirting and going on.
Yeah, he had wrapped his arm around your waist and had pulled you.
And it was working for me, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and then he was trying to get her to come pay attention to me. So they were clearly scheming, but they weren't very good at hiding. They were out loud. Go over there.
Yeah, they were pretty transparent.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, we need to have some sort of a conversation. We can't just keep doing this. This reminds me of high school. If you don't say anything, one thing leads to another, and before you know it, you're in deep water. So I started asking him some specific questions about, okay, what's your style? Are you I'm assuming you're in the lifestyle, and what are your boundaries, and what do you all like to do? And they never really answered the questions directly. They talked about, well, we only play when we're on vacation, and
there's really only one other couple we've been with. We play around, but we don't really do anything too serious. There was one other couple that we used to do stuff with, and then Mr. Jones said, well, we're only soft swap, and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. That's pretty much what we are too. But you kept hearing phrases like pretty much or
yeah.
And, they never were very specific.
So I started asking I said, so if you're not going to answer the questions, I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask myself the same questions, and you listen to my answers, and you tell me. So I would say, okay, we're soft swap, anything but penetration, oral sex is fine, kissing is fine, everything else, same room, and they were nodding their head, yeah.
Mr. Jones was like writing a contract.
Yeah, I was trying to be specific because I was being as specific as they were vague to see And when they started nodding, and then I think you started to feel a whole lot more comfortable, and I think him working on you in the hot tub had something to do with that.
He knew what he was doing.
So I looked at you and I said, well, they invited us back to the room, and I said, well, do you want to go? And you said yes. So then
you said, are you sure?
I
and
said, are you
yes.
sure? Because you had said no before,
yeah.
and now you were saying yes. And I knew that you hadn't drank much more, so I know that you weren't drunk. So I trusted that, yes, in fact, that's what you wanted to do. So fortunately or unfortunately, their room was about 10 feet.
They had a great room.
Yeah, it was about 10 feet off the hot tub. And so we literally, when we stepped into the room, we were still dripping wet from the hot tub. But then all of a sudden something changed when the curtains closed in the room, and we felt like at that first point in time we'd been duped.
We were prey, let me tell you.
Yeah, so I looked up, and as soon as she closed the curtains, she came at me and wrapped both arms around me and started kissing me and pushing me almost away from the bed. And you two were on the other side of the room, completely on the other side of the room, and he was after you, and which was okay at first. And then we never really started coming back together. So I started trying to get her to go towards the bed, and I think you guys.
Well, he and I were kissing and rubbing up against each other, and then all of a sudden there's a tap on my shoulder, and I turned around and Mr. Jones was like, "Come on over to the bed," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, so we got in bed, and she went down on me, and within about the first 15 seconds that she was on me, the only thing I could think of is, this woman has an objective to fulfill.
She was on a mission.
She was on a mission. There was no variation in what she was doing. She was in full attack mode. And right away I realized, okay, this is like T minus 2 minutes is all I got here if she keeps at this pace. And that's not normally how we do this. You know, normally we like to take our time and share and move around, and she's going at it full time, and so I tried to disengage, and there was no, the suction wouldn't let go. And so then I tried rolling over, and she still seemed reluctant, but I pulled out of her, and eventually she ended up pulling me back. So then I ended up kind of tapping you on the shoulder, and because this was going to happen, I said, "Are you okay with this?" And you said, "Yeah." But little did I know, when I turned back around and she started back on me again, and literally in 30 seconds, I was done. But at the same time, then you were doing the same thing with him.
Yeah, I mean, you guys came at the exact same time. It was almost like you planned it that way. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, right. So,
but I wasn't really expecting that either. I mean, because I wasn't trying to finish him off. He was just overzealous. I mean, he was really, really excited and just, I guess he had maybe been planning it more during the evening and thinking about it more. But he went down on me first. So, you went down on her at one point.
Well, I did.
When did you do that?
Well, no, I tried. When I disengaged the first time, I went down on her thinking that would keep her distracted for a while. And it did. But then as soon as I was done, she was right back, right back on. And she didn't really, I mean, I think she enjoyed me going down on her, but we didn't do that for a long time. She clearly wanted to get back, me back inside of her mouth. And so we definitely finished there and walked out with our heads kind of spinning, like, we certainly got,
what the hell just happened?
We just
there?
got swindled,
Yeah.
They really,
I mean, I'm not complaining.
Oh, no.
We had a good time, but
No.
it was definitely not what we had planned for the evening.
And the good thing about it, just that piece of the vacation. Before we went on vacation, Mrs. Jones, you were saying that we're at the point in time in the lifestyle where we can not worry about getting to know somebody for such a long period of time. Maybe we're getting better at judging people, and are we connected with them, and do we feel safe with them so that we can do something in a short period of time.
Right, because I kind of felt like we sort of did that with the couple at the airport before we left for Desire. but we had emailed them,
yeah.
and texted with them. So even though we hadn't met them face to face until the night that we played with them, we had connected with them, at least a week or two ahead of time.
Yes.
So this was kind of out of the blue.
This was like a one night stand.
Now we had met this couple last year.
We did,
but it was not much more than polite chit chat last year, and even really up to this point in the vacation, we had talked to them. Hey, you look familiar from last year. Yeah, we were here too, and kind of got caught up on things because we had some common interests, children and grandchildren and all that stuff. But to just spontaneously have dinner with them and dance at the disco, and then the next thing boom, you're in bed. Yeah, we kind of feel like sluts.
And we'll talk more about
happy sluts.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in just a minute when we get to the end. But so that was the second couple that we were with, right?
Yep.
And then there was a third couple that we spend a lot of time with, and I guess I don't know if that we can qualify this by saying that we played together.
I think we did, because remember, the lifestyle is a full spectrum.
Well, I'm all about notches on the belt, so I'm gonna take your scorecard
on
this one. So we met another couple. Oh, actually, we didn't. We met them last year also.
Yes, we did.
We just didn't spend a lot of time with them. And when you and I were on the way home last year, I asked you if there was a couple there that you would have liked to have spent more time with but didn't get the chance to, who would it be? And you mentioned this couple. Well,
yes, I did.
We had no idea that they were going to be back. Matter of fact, they didn't come back until maybe our third or fourth day in.
Right.
And we didn't think they were coming, and then we saw them.
At breakfast, and it was so exciting to see familiar faces again.
Yeah, so we had breakfast with them that day to kind of catch up, and then we invited them to dinner the last night, and
they are not in the lifestyle.
Well, they're on the fringe.
You worked them pretty good, honey.
Did my darndest. Had my tractor beam.
They are just very much enjoying the sexy, sensual atmosphere at Pearl, and enjoying the freedom to express themselves in front of other people. So, they're kind of in that voyeurish, exhibitionist stage right now, and they're very happy and comfortable there.
Right. Well, and the thing that attracts me to them is that, well, first of all,
they're gorgeous.
Yeah, first of all, they're very nice looking.
Yes.
But you can tell by looking at their relationship that they're very much in love. They have a very solid relationship, and they seem to be asking all the right questions, and they seem to understand that this is something that can enhance their relationship, and it's very reminiscent of our journey into this. So I see a lot in them, that we experience. And so that kind of draws me closer to them, because here's somebody that's really curious and wants to ask a lot of questions, and so I really felt drawn to, and we both did, to spend time with them.
Yes.
So we went to dinner with them, had a great dinner. Went to we didn't go to the disco. We went to the disco for a few minutes, but then we went to the hot tub.
Yeah, we just went and watched a show.
Right, and so we stayed at the hot tub again, talking for a while, and then got really late and decided we were each going to get up on one of the jacuzzi beds. So they got up on one of the jacuzzi beds and started playing with each other. We got up on the bed right next to them and started playing with each other. And then, unbeknownst to you, what happened was that
I was being distracted at the moment.
Yeah, you were laying on your back, and I was playing with you with my hand. And so your eyes were closed, and this guy came and got into the hot tub, and he was by himself, and he started, and he was clearly drunk, and he was slapping the water, and he was yelling out. He was making a lot of noise, and I couldn't understand what he was saying, but he was clearly looking at us. And so every time he came over our way, I would kind of like slow down a little bit so he wouldn't think that we were in the middle of anything and want to come stare. And he ended up going over to the bed next to us where the other couple was, and then he like put his elbows up on the side of the hot tub, and he was just staring, at them and making noises, and it was creepy. And I felt bad for them because, they're new to this, and we, they have a great environment. It's one of the last nights there, and here's this creepy guy, standing on the edge of the hot tub, and that kind of. So anyway, they got up and left because of that, and then the guy in the hot tub ended up leaving, and you and I stayed there for a while. So that was a disruption, and unfortunately that sort of thing happens every once in a while. It really doesn't happen that often at Pearl, but it was just bad timing because they're a brand new couple, and to take a step like that and then to have some, kind of creeper step in, it really disrupts the whole mood.
Yep, and it wasn't their last night. I think they had one more night after that, but it was our last night.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. So anyway, we had an enjoyable evening with them and caught up with them the next morning. So if you're keeping score, we'll say we were with 2.5 couples maybe. So that pretty much describes our sexual adventures with other people. Of course, there were times when you held me hostage in the morning instead of allowing me to go get my bacon.
I know.
And my coffee.
I'm such a bad wife.
Accosted me.
I know.
In our room, which was horrible.
I remember at one point I said, "Isn't this better than bacon?"
Yeah.
And then he had to stop and think about it for a minute.
Right. So that pretty much takes us to our final segment. Third segment is something that we call snapshots. And snapshots, do you want to describe what snapshots are?
So snapshots are something that goes through my head every time we have an encounter in the lifestyle and we come home, either in the car on the way home or when we get in bed that night. We debrief with each other on some level. So I always say, well, what's your snapshot? What is that one, like either visual or sometimes it's auditory? What is that one takeaway that you just is embedded in your memory from whatever happened that evening? So we always talk about what our snapshot is. So there's so many snapshots from last week. It's impossible just to choose one, but I decided to go with humor this time. So the couple that we played with, that we had gone out to dinner with in the disco, and then kind of accosted us in their room. And again, I'm not saying that we went willingly and we had a blast.
Right.
So it's just very did not go the way we thought it would go, and they were much more aggressive than I anticipated them to be. But anyway, we had a great time. However, at one point, like I said, I started going. He went down on me first, and then I went down on him, and then he and Mr. Jones did the synchronized orgasm, and when they both came at the same time. And so thought things were going to kind of wind down after that. So, after he came, he kind of pulled me up against him, and we were kind of spooning. I was kind of in front of him when we were spooning.
And he had been bragging that he had taken that pill.
Yeah, he had taken a pill.
Yeah.
So
I didn't take a pill.
No.
I don't need a pill.
Well, of course you don't, honey.
Let's get that on the record.
Yes, okay. That is very clear.
Okay.
You don't need a pill. So anyway, this other gentleman obviously had taken a pill, because as soon as he was done and we started spooning, all of a sudden he was back. And he started kind of wiggling up against me, and my butt was in front of him, and he was trying to slip inside of me, and I was like, what the hell? I mean, we had said that we were a soft swap couple, and he had just come, and I really wasn't anticipating that. And he just kept saying, oh, this feels so good, and he was trying to slip inside of me, and I was like, I cannot believe this guy is doing this. So I kind of reached my hand back between us, and I kind of put my hand over him so that to kind of put a little barrier up, and he was still trying to wiggle around me and get inside of me. So, at one point I was, I think I said, I'm not about that or something. I can't remember exactly what I said. And he was not taking the hint at all. So I flipped over. So we were like nose to nose, and I had my nose right up against his nose, and I looked him right in the eye and I said, no.
Like a dog.
Like I was tapping a dog on the nose after it peed on the floor or something, And he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't hear that. I wish I would have heard that.
Well, I was trying not to be like a jerk about it, but at the same time, he was one being, and he didn't even have a condom on. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So that is my snapshot.
Yeah. Well, coincidentally or not, my snapshot came from the same episode, and I had described earlier where this woman was on a mission, to make me come, and and normally, and I'm trying to be really respectful. I mean, to me, my opinion is anytime a couple or a woman opens their relationship to me, I think that is one of the greatest honors or gifts that somebody can give. And so just to come in somebody's mouth without a conversation about that or what you expect, that's not something that I particularly would think that, a lot of women want. And so there was no conversation, but she was going at it. And I kept trying to disengage. So the third time that I tried to pull her off of me, he rolled over and he said, "I think she wants you to come in her mouth," and I almost started laughing. I was like,
I think we all laughed.
I was like, no shit, but I'm glad somebody finally said it. So anyway, then he rolled back over and went back to town on you. But it was so funny. And then
he came in my mouth without asking me if it was okay.
I mean, it was so funny because he just
okay, but I was like, oh well, okay.
I think he must have sensed her frustration because he just turned it over. "I think she wants you to come in her mouth." And so I obliged. I did that.
What else is a guy gonna do?
So I enjoyed coming in her mouth, but the snapshot was actually him and what he was like. He just went and stopped what he was doing and had to tell me specifically what she wanted, and I was like, "Oh, thank you for that." So anyway, those are our.
So that was a fun night, and I just remember walking back to our room. Our room was on the other side of the resort. So when we went to the hot tub after we left the disco and we were all hot and sweaty, we didn't go back to our room to change first. We just, they have these cubbies where you can put like your stuff, all your clothes and stuff. So we just stripped down, took all of our disco clothes off and stuck them in this cubby. So when we left their room, we just wrapped the towels from the hot tub around ourselves and picked up all of our clothes in our arms and we're walking back to the room. It just makes you feel a little slutty when you don't even bother to get dressed after you have sex with somebody and you're walking back to your room. But we were kind of quiet when we first walked out of the room, and then we got past the hot tub and we were on the sidewalk and there was nobody else around, and I looked at Mr. Jones and I said, "I think we've been duped."
Yeah.
Because they were not inexperienced and they were not soft swap.
Yep, definitely. But it was fun. It was a good time. So. Anyway, before we sign off for episode 2, this has been a lot of fun. We're glad that you all came back for episode 2 to listen. And we think that episode 3, again, in case you missed last time, we're going to produce these about once a month. So you can expect episode 3 last week of December, maybe 1st of January 2015.
It'll be perfect timing because we'll probably have some time off then.
Oh, we may have to do it before January 1st because we might go to that New Year's party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll want to put the New Year's party definitely on the January podcast.
Absolutely.
So anyway, it'll probably be the last week of December. So
we think for the next podcast, we kind of want to go to something, a little bit on the serious side. We when we first got in the lifestyle, we had some issues with our emotions and just after being married so long, just seeing us with other people, and there were some jealousy issues. So we kind of like to reflect back on that and how that how that affected our relationship at the time, and how we've learned from it and moved on from it, and how we make decisions now based on that experience. Because you get past it, but it's still part of who you are, and it does affect the way that you make decisions as a couple and as individuals. So I think we want to talk about that a little bit. And
right. Yeah, and how it's helped us grow as a couple, not just in the lifestyle, but just enhanced our relationship.
So true.
And so we know that other people experience that too. And it seems like whenever we bring up the word jealousy, it piques everyone's interest and they want to know, what was that about and how did you get through it?
And it sounds so negative, but really it's, in hindsight, it's not.
Right.
It wasn't a negative experience.
Yeah, it seems like it's a big scary thing, and it can be, but we want to share that with you next month.
And I mean, ironically, we just had like the funnest week ever. We're only like 3 days post desire right now, so we're still sleep deprived, and I still am scratching my mosquito bites and
Mexican mosquito bites.
Yeah, those Mexican mosquitoes can really suck the blood out of you. So on the way home from the airport on Sunday night, we had the best time, and then there was really no conflict at all for all 8 days we were there. But as we're coming home, we're kind of reflecting on the week, and ended up having a difficult conversation on the way home in the car. And it wasn't like we were fighting about something or we disagreed about anything. It's just asking questions about why we made the decisions that we made. At one point, there was something that one of us wanted to do and the other person was more interested in doing something else. And at that point in time, if somebody doesn't want to do something, you just kind of have to say, okay. It's not...
Right. And
nobody's taking one for the team, and nobody's going to, intentionally piss the other person off because they feel like being selfish.
Yeah, so the first thing that we've learned, and where if it was a vanilla vacation, or even if it was at home and we had disagreed on something, sometimes we would just launch into that argument or that conversation right at the moment. But when we're talking about swinging with people and being on vacation, when one of us doesn't want to do something or doesn't want to do something, we generally have no questions asked. So if you don't want to do it, that's fine. We're out. What are we going to do? And then we move on and enjoy the rest of our trip. And then on the way home.
So in this case, it wasn't that somebody didn't want to do something. It's just somebody wanted to do something else more.
Right.
But, to take the time out, when you're blow drying your hair and trying to get ready for dinner, I was just like, well, okay. And then we had that conversation in the car. So, you're always having to have these conversations.
Right.
So you can't let it just
slide
by.
Yeah, you have to have those conversations. That's what this is all about, really. That's where we're going to get the benefit and the growth. So anyway, we'll talk about that in our next episode. So we believe that there are people that are listening to us, but we're not sure. So we'd really appreciate your feedback. We do have some lifestyle friends that we asked specifically to give us some feedback, and they've done that.
So as far as shout outs go, I just want to take 1 second and thank all the people that we had the opportunity to get to know last week. I mean, we met people from New York and from Texas and from Illinois and from Florida and from Utah and Colorado, California.
Canada.
I mean, lots of people from Canada were there, and everybody was just so interesting to talk to, and just gorgeous, sexy, happy people, and just a pleasure to talk to. Just very solid relationships, and intellectual people, and you expect to go just to have a wild, crazy, mindless time, but you meet all types of people and all types of professions, and at all points in their lives, either with kids or grandkids, and it just of course the sex is great, but really what you take away are just the memories of the new friendships that you made.
Right.
And everybody was just great.
Yeah, I'm glad you remembered to do that. Thanks. And I appreciate the friendships as well. So there's plenty of ways you can contact us, and I'm going to go through a list right now, but you can always go to our website first, wegotathing.com, and you will find the show notes for episode 1 and 2, and in those show notes you'll find hyperlinks to everything that we've discussed. You'll find our contact information, and if you're lucky this time, maybe even a picture of Mrs. Jones's porn star shirt that we can get in there.
Yeah, as long as there's no face pictures, maybe we can work that in.
Yeah. So that's where you're going to get most of the information. You can follow us directly on Twitter at WeGotAthing. You can leave us a voicemail at 571-367-9464, or that's 571-36-SWING. You can send us an email at wegotathing@gmail.com. Or as I said before, you can go to our website, wegotathing.com, and leave a comment on the site or find all this contact information. We are on iTunes. All you have to do in iTunes is search for We Got a Thing. And we'd appreciate reviews on iTunes as well. That's really going to help us kind of get discovered more with your reviews, so we appreciate that. We are on Cassidy at We Got a Thing. So we have a community established there. If you'd like to be the first member of our Cassidy community. Yeah. Right now it's only us, so we're
wallflowers on Cassidy right now.
We're sitting in the room all by ourselves, so please come find us on Cassidy. And we have a Facebook page, We Got a Thing, and that's 3 separate words, We Got a Thing. But just be careful, because if you don't have your privacy settings set exactly right, if you like our page, it'll show on your news feed and your timeline. So you might want to be very careful if you decide to do that. But we are on Facebook if you'd like to follow us there. So,
and there's something about Stitcher. I don't know what Stitcher is.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, our podcast is also on Stitcher, and it's on Zune for those of you who
I've never even heard of Zune.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, that's part of my job, is to make sure it's out everywhere. So again, thank you for joining us, and wanted to say thanks for listening. And we are Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and we got a thing.
What's your thing?
I didn't take a pill.
No.
I don't need a pill.
Well, of course you don't, honey.
Let's get that on the record.
Yes, okay. That is very clear.
Okay.
You don't need a pill.